And I think we're live. Welcome, everybody. My name is Jim. This is More Sunshine, Please. And welcome to another edition of More Explorers, Please. With me, as always in this series of videos, is Derek and Gregory from D&G Explorers. Gentlemen, good morning to you.
Dilly dilly.
Dilly dilly. Good morning.
Dilly.
I have a Tigger cup instead of a Goofy cup. I don't have a Goofy cup.
And I'm drinking from an empty can koozie. I have water over here. So it's lunchtime for me. It's breakfast time for you guys. We'll get through this, though. And we're both hungry. So,
well, that's not so much because we just ate.
Yeah, I'm snacking on almonds over here.
Eat your almonds as much as you want.
Oh, I will. I got to have something to take the edge off. So what this series of live streams is about is I had created a list of Disney movies that I had yet to see. Most people in the world have seen these, but I have not. Where's my list? Okay, so I think it's here. Okay. So I had done a top 15 list of the Disney movies I haven't seen yet. And Gregory thought it'd be a great idea if we would watch them and then have some live streams and talk about them. And I thought that was a great idea. So I stole it. No, I'm giving him total credit. And slowly, but surely, actually 2 at a time, I'm going through the list. So the ones in yellow are the ones we have seen already, including the 2 we're going to talk about today, which is The Fox and the Hound and a Goofy movie. So, had you guys seen these before?
Yep.
Both of them.
I haven't seen Fox and the Hound, and I don't know how long, but it's one of my favorites. And then we watched it recently Thursday, and I forgot how sad and emotional it was. So
I loved it. I thought it was the best comedy I've ever seen.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it's been a while since we have seen it.
It had some sad moments in it, though.
Fox and the Hound's been at least 10 years since I saw it. And then what was it, Goofy movie? I think we saw that like a year ago.
Yeah, we were watching that on Friday, and there was one part, I think it always gets me in a Goofy movie, where I choked up a little bit, and I just thought, dang, this movie, it always happens.
I had not seen these. I mean, you guys have it, and I think most people in our community have. I had not, for one reason or another. I just don't know. I will say, though, that parts of The Fox and the Hound seemed familiar, as if I had seen them in a clip compilation or I don't know where, but some things seemed familiar to me. But a Goofy movie did not. I know I had never seen that. It was it was released in '95, and it came at this time where mid '90s wasn't exactly the best time for Disney movies. So, and it was I had just graduated college. I had other things going, so it just came at a time in my life where it just didn't fit in to my life, I guess. So. Anyway, long story short, I know, too late. I watched it within the past month, so we're here to talk about it. So I suppose, well, let's first let's check the chat. Here we go. All right, let me go back up to the top. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us on this silly discussion we're about to have. Welcome to Anna Isabel Zikic, who is today's champion, first in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. Bill, MGM Family Travel, good to see you as well. Rachel loves Disney. Thank you so much for being here and posting your stuff. Sherry from Awesome Sunsets Travel, good to see you as well, and thank you for being here. Wanda, Cruising for Food, is here. What's going? You're waving underwear in front of the. No, that's a.
It's supposed to be a Speedo. Yeah,
I know. Mar in Memphis, thank you so much for being here. Hello to Alex Brunner. And I'm not ready for. Hang on. Hello to Pepper Tree Villa. And Anybody else that has come in? Hello and welcome. Sorry if I missed you, but so here we go. Let's start. Let's get into it. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
All right.
We had
So
a
the
show
first-
within a show because the cats were like running after each other, so that's why we were laughing so much. But
Okay.
all right, go ahead.
No, and no need to apologize for that. If anything's going to distract you, I want it to be that. And then Ben is also here from Pepper Tree Villa. Okay, so now let's get into this. The first movie we're going to talk about is The Fox and the Hound. Should we say spoilers, or are we going to spoil it? Do we want to?
I think
This
the
thing
fact
is-
how old these
This
are.
thing's been over 50 years old.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen it now,
Not quite 50 years old. Yeah, I suppose so. All right. Fair warning. We're going to talk about all parts of the movie.
it's a long time.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it by now, shame on you. Shame on me for not having seen it.
Anyway,
81.
oh. Okay,
But
yeah.
the first thing I want to say is right off the bat, having not seen it before and just knowing it was about a fox and a hound, I thought before I knew anything about it, I thought this movie was going to take place in the UK, and it was about fox hunting and you know how they get on their horses and it's a game. I don't know what that's about, Derek. I don't know if you know more about that part of British culture or not.
It's very cruel.
It's very
But it's not about that at all. It takes place in
kind of.
in America somewhere.
There's some
Certainly.
hunting in it.
So yeah, right off the bat, this was a different movie than I was expecting immediately. It starts out, and please jump in at any time. It starts out with a very slow opening credits scene.
Mhm.
It actually starts out with very little audio. It starts out. Let me go. Do I have it ready here? Okay, this is just I've got a number of screenshots, but there is almost 3 minutes of this before we see our first character, and that is Mama Fox, who is clearly running away from something. But the opening credits don't stop there. The movie doesn't start there. We then go on for another 2+ minutes. The movie begins about 4 minutes and 40 seconds in. I wrote it down. So it's a different opening. It's a little slow, and I got real nervous. I go, "Oh my God, is the whole movie like this?" It's not. But I just thought it was an interesting, at a time where the opening, the credits were at the beginning of the movie and not the end of the movie, certainly. But this was, the audio creeps in with sounds of the forest. And I don't even remember if there's music at all during it. It's just a very ambient sounds. It's very moody. It's a dark forest because dark things are about to happen. Now, not having seen this until just very recently, did this ever enter your consciousness about this movie?
That it was slow in the beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, and they were doing a lot of scenes, and then the first thing you hear are dogs barking.
Yeah, that was
So
kind
it's-
of eerie.
To me, it was just like setting the mood of a quiet, peaceful forest, and then here comes the dogs, and then you see right after that is when you see the mother fox with the little fox in its mouth.
It's almost like Bambi, but except they have crows in Bambi, and then you hear the dogs barking in this more than you do in Bambi. But
Yeah.
and I think the mother part is drawn out longer than Bambi because what happens?
Yes, it's another in the long line of Disney movies where it's just not a good story for Mama. It's I don't know what it is, but yeah, I mean it sets up the story. The fox, who is which one, Todd or
Todd.
Copper?
Todd's the
Todd
fox.
is the fox. So Todd's an orphan and is raised by
Mama.
is
Well, not-
found by an old owl who is what's the owl's name? Big Mama,
Big Mama.
voiced by Pearl Bailey. And there's also a couple of others. The Timon and Pumbaa of the movie is a woodpecker and a
Little
finch.
bird. Yeah.
Something like that. Oh, let me show. I've got it here.
The
Is,
Pepper Tree Villa was saying this is also in the transition time where credits were either at the beginning or ending of the film. The 70s and 80s really saw a lot of changes to the film looks. And Sherry said she really likes the old movies, very long credits at the beginning.
Yes. Disney movies weren't the only movies. Most movies were like this. And then at the end of the movie, it would say the end, and then that's it, and everybody would walk out of the theater. So back in the day when credits were at the beginning of the film, which I suppose if I worked on the film, I'd love that. You know, nobody's going to miss your name on the screen. So that's cool. So it's kind of sad for the movie industry that credits are now at the end of the movie, where most people walk out or don't bother to pay attention to them. So I get it.
And they also miss the after credit scenes, which most movies have now. And I'm like, really? Why are you leaving? You know there's going to be a scene, especially with a Marvel movie. It just
That's
flabbergasts me.
We just watched Moana for the 100th time, and there's a cool little meta joke after credit scene in that one with the giant crab. So yeah, agreed. Yeah, so they're trying to keep people's interest, throughout the credits. So that's cool. The voice of the woodpecker is the same exact voice of that of Tigger.
Yep.
It's same voice actor, Paul Winchell, is that his name? And it is like he didn't even try to change it. I mean, he's got a great voice, of course. It's awesome. Classic. Jason and Bridget from Uber Wisdom Videos, welcome to the show. It's awesome. But did you have a problem with it being the same exact voice, giggles and all, of Tigger's?
I didn't. I thought about it at first, but then it kind of like left my mind because he doesn't like when he did his long laugh. Tigger usually goes hoo 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 hoo, and he just went like hoo hoo or something like that. So
Okay.
it kind of like
So totally different.
It just differentiated it.
Okay. Right.
It's a mental thing, I guess.
You sound like Vanilla Ice trying to convince the world that he didn't copy Queen.
Yeah.
No, I get it. No. I'm having fun. I love the voice, and of course, and I love that giggle. It's just
Interesting that they use that.
yeah, interesting choice, and all of those classic Disney voices. He's the same. It's the same voice as that of the Tomcat in the Aristocats. I don't think he giggled in that one. So I love those voices. I'm not complaining about the voice, the quality of the voice. It's even with that giggle, it was the kind of the wow, that's Tigger.
I've never
Anyway.
seen Aristocats.
There was a lot of big voices
yeah.
in this. Maren Memphis said she met Pearl Bailey.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
The old dog, and really quick back because this is in my mind still. To be fair, you don't really know if the mother got killed because
She's just a great way for her to abandon her child and run away.
No, but she literally went into the bushes and everything. They didn't show her. It looked like she got away. Then you hear the gun go off and birds are flying, and you assume,
unless you want to see her being flipped in the air by the dogs, I think it pretty much showed that she was dead.
You just assume that she is, but it made it look like she got away.
Yeah, she just kept running.
Sorry,
Todd, or whatever. I don't know.
And then I told Derek because they had all those dead foxes and stuff on the wall, which was horrible. I said he's probably looking at his mother and doesn't even know it because they were all up there. It was just horrible. Maybe.
Oh, that's gruesome.
That's morbid.
It is. So anyway, he's orphaned, and then we eventually we see Todd and Copper playing together, and they are adorable.
Yes, they are.
They are wonderful. By the way, I've got
Copper is adorable as a puppy.
yes. This my sister sent this to me. She got a series of these when she was buying videos from the 90s. This is from 1994. This is the exclusive commemorative lithograph that she got when she bought. I don't know if she bought this movie on VHS or whatever, but this is. She sent me a bunch of them that she didn't want anymore. But so this is the one for the Fox and the Hound, and they are adorable.
Wanda, no gore allowed. I know. Yeah, I love their voices too. Their voices really make the cuteness come out.
Yes, voiced by child actors Corey Feldman and Keith Coogan, who went on to do other things. Of course, Keith Coogan was. I think he was in Adventures in Babysitting, among other things. Corey Feldman was a Goonie and Lost Boys and a bunch of other stuff. So there were a lot of well-known names back in the day where, there were a stable of solid Disney voice actors that they would always use. And this one seemed to break a bit out of that. Some celebrity voices, Pearl Bailey. I don't know if she did any other Disney movies. Kurt Russell, who I don't remember doing any other animated Disney movies. So this was kind of the an outlier. They didn't they employed some other names of note to provide voices for this. Tori Camillo, welcome to the show.
Mickey Rooney was one of them.
But it didn't sound like Mickey Rooney or Kurt Russell to me. I know they were very young, but 1981,
Mickey Rooney was already pretty old by then.
Yeah, but their voices sounded really young.
Agreed. Kurt Russell, a much higher voice, but again, he was 40 years younger than he is right now. So, but yeah, agreed. I couldn't immediately tell it was him.
The old dog. What's his name? I don't remember his name.
Chief, right?
He's the same voice as the sheriff of Nottingham in Robin Hood.
Yes, and we'll get to it a little bit later. He has a voice in a Goofy movie as well. Very small part, and I think it was his last appearance before his death in a Disney movie. He played he was something else. We'll talk about it later. But so he had a voice in both of the movies we're going to be talking about today.
Jack Albertson is another one. He was the one that was in Chico and the Man, and he also was in the original Willy Wonka factory.
Oh yeah,
that was his final role, film role. And then Sandy Duncan, the ever famous Sandy Duncan, was in there too.
I don't know who the old lady was, but her voice seemed familiar.
I saw her. I was looking at the cast, and her name wasn't familiar to me.
Jeanette Nolan, is that who it was?
Oh, could be. Could be.
And Piglet was in it. Did you hear Piglet? He was a porcupine.
That's right. And I can't immediately remember that actor's name, but has done a lot.
And the badger was Rufus the cat from The Rescuers. It was the same voice. They sound exactly the same.
Yes. All part of that stable of Disney voice actors, and they're awesome. And it's fun. I mean, I sound like I have a problem with Tigger being in this movie, but I don't. It's fun to hear these voices because they're great, and we love them. There we go. What do I have next here? So Todd and Copper become friends. Eventually they're not going to be they're going to be
frenemies
because Copper's the dog, right?
Yes.
Copper's the dog. So Copper is going to be trained to be a hunting dog. And his owner, Amos Slade, is going to train him to do that. Speaking of Amos Slade, getting into Amos Slade now. There he is, voiced by Grandpa Joe. So
looks just like him too.
Yeah, we're meant to. This is the villain. We're meant to not like him, but I like Grandpa Joe. So Disney, what are you doing to me?
He's just a grumpy old man, is what he is. I don't even look at him as a villain. He's just a grumpy old man.
Pepper Tree Villa says another tidbit. The voice of Grumpy Badger was John McIntyre. Today is his birthday.
Happy birthday.
And Jim, by the way, happy belated birthday.
Happy belated birthday.
Celebrated your 21st birthday.
Again. Yes. Next year will be the big one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So.
Well, you don't look it.
Thank you. I don't feel it.
You're welcome. Well, that's good.
Oh, I thought you
Rainwater's welcome to the show.
No.
I thought you were going to say he looks older than that.
Oh, my gosh. Stop. No, he doesn't.
I look like Amos Slade.
No, you don't.
I shaved.
Hey, Timothy.
I liked the banter between him and whatever her name is, the old lady, like back and forth.
They were at it. They were like trying to shoot each other and all this stuff.
They were trying to shoot each other.
Greg, let me get into that.
He was trying to shoot the fox.
Okay, here we go. So he thinks Todd broke into his chicken coop to get his chickens. He was just running away from Chief. So he gets his shotgun, goes after him. By the way, I'm not a gun owner. I don't know much about guns. I've had members in my family hunt. So I'm not... I know a little bit about them, but I don't know much. That's a shotgun, right?
Yeah.
So in order to shoot that, let's say it's a double-barreled shotgun. You put 2 shells in, you shoot both shells, and then you have to reload, correct?
Yes.
Okay. In this scene, I wish this were moving. He shoots it 5 times in a row.
He altered it to an automatic shotgun.
I guess he did. So anyway, this guy... Through this scene where he's chasing Todd, we see just how reckless he is with his guns. Here he is. Todd jumps into the back of the friendly lady. I don't know her name. I don't remember because we only really ever hear her referred to as female by Amos Slade.
Or woman.
Right. So here is Amos Slade jumped in his car.
Widow Tweed is her name.
Widow Tweed.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Amos Slade jumps in his car. That's the barrel of his shotgun pointing at the back of Widow Tweed's car. Todd is now in the back of the car. Amos Slade couldn't care less that there is a human being driving his car. He's pointing his gun. He has a bloodlust. He just wants to kill Todd. So
could be a 12 gauge.
So he does shoot. He shoots
at
the car. This is now attempted murder. Bill is telling us could be a 12 gauge. I don't exactly know. Bill, you've got to tell us how he can shoot his gun 5 times in a row without reloading.
Poor little Todd's face.
Okay. Jason tells me I'm right. So he does have to reload after at least 2 shots. But I am interested. Bill, you've got to tell me if I'm right about this. I think I am. So anyway, so we know it's a shotgun. This is 1 shot. He blew at least 7, 8 holes in the milk container. So it's now destruction of property, attempted murder. By the way, Todd no longer poses a threat to him. He's being driven away in an automobile. So let it go.
But he managed to shoot all those barrels of milk with 1 shot. And that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. 1 shot. By the way, how did Widow Tweed survive this? And Todd, by all accounts, should be dead as well. But he's not. So
the magic of Disney.
It's seemingly I don't know. I don't know how Amos Slade survives. I'm guessing he hunts to survive, but he's not hitting anything he's aiming at. So anyway, there's this. So eventually, Widow Tree stops the car and says, "Give me that gun," and he gives it to her for some reason. So she points it, she first shoots his radiator.
He's in his underwear.
So he can't drive anymore.
Apparently.
So then he says, so he starts yelling at the woman. I wrote it down.
Ding blast.
So she destroys his property right back. He then starts yelling at her about that, and she says, I've got the gun now. Is pointing it at her. He has the audacity to say, "Watch it, that thing's loaded." By the way, it shouldn't be loaded anymore, but it is. So there's one more shot in it. She shoots it into the sky, which is another bad idea.
Because it comes back down.
Yeah, right. So who knows where that's landing? But so he says, "Watch it, that thing's loaded." Who's telling who to watch it with their gun? So she shoots it, says it's not loaded anymore, and gives the gun back. It's just Amos Slade's an idiot. He is he's dangerous. He's mean. So clearly the villain of the movie.
He's in his underwear too.
Yeah.
And he's in his underwear because he couldn't be bothered to get dressed. Or he tried to. He was pulling up his overalls, but he was so busy shooting his gun that he just said, "Forget it. I'm in my," what do they call that? A union suit or whatever?
The onesie.
No, I don't.
Onesie. He's in his PJs. He's in his footy pajamas. He was a test character for Stormtroopers. Can't hit a thing. Absolutely. You're right.
Another movie that they did with a gun like that, where it just kept going, and it was a shotgun, was in The Rescuers with Medusa. She had a shotgun, and she continuously shot at the mice. Don't know when she reloaded that thing, but it's the same thing as this. So Disney had a thing with the shotguns, I guess.
You're right. And by no means are these the only movies in the history of Hollywood cinema to have this issue. It's been kind of a running joke for the history of for as long as I can remember watching movies, where people just don't have to reload; they just keep shooting. Bill says he would still have to reload; he would just have to pump it. Okay, yes, 2 shots for a double barrel. He was using buckshot. Can have up to 12 pellets in one shell, so that explains, what we knew. We knew. So one shot could damage all of those milk canisters.
They're just making excuses for him.
Yeah. Let's see. Timothy says, shotguns will hold 3 shells, but if you take something out of the area where the shells go in, you can get 5 shells in it, but that's highly illegal. Interesting.
I'm sure he highly could care less if he was illegal or not, if he even did that.
Okay. So thank you, Timothy and Jason and Bill. However, and I counted, it was at least 7 shots. So let's say he did this highly illegal thing. By the way, wouldn't be the first thing. Again, attempted murder, destruction of property. He's driving with a shotgun.
And no police in sight.
Wanda says, John Wick does it all the time. Good one. Sawyer in the middle, welcome to the show. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. So at least 7 shots without reloading. But yeah, the gunplay in this movie, highly irresponsible. But fun. So far, it's a fun, dangerous movie. And I love the fact that she is not intimidated by Amos Slade. She gives as good as she gets, except for shooting at him. She never does that. He shoots at her. But I digress. Okay, we can get off of this.
It teaches what kids not to do.
Yes. Do not do this. Right. But he is clearly established as the meanie. He's the heavy in the movie. He's the villain. So, all right. So, after a while, winter comes. Amos Slade takes Copper and Chief, the other dog, the older hunting dog, away for the season to hunt, to train Copper as a hunting dog. So I have this correct. When the spring rolls around, Amos Slade returns. We see that with Copper. Todd is now grown up. So over the course of the winter, both Todd and Copper are now more mature animals. They're dogs, but I've got to and Todd is excited to again see his best buddy Copper. Mama, Big Mama, the owl, voiced by Pearl Bailey, says, "Oh yeah, he's back, but look at all those animal skins in the back of the truck."
God.
She makes it a point to tell him, "You're in danger." So here's what everybody can see, including Todd. I'm guessing he's looking at this too. Clearly a bunch of fox pelts back there, but he's blinded by his excitement to see his old best buddy. Blue Nose, good to see you. Yeah, so
Poor Miko.
red flags should be popping up for Todd here.
This was before Miko. Derek said poor Miko. I said this was before Miko.
So here in the middle, Amos is just misunderstood. I think he's a good man down deep.
Well, yeah. By the end.
Are you saying that in jest? I'm thinking you are. But he is he's a crazy old coot. I think that's what we're led to believe about him. What's next here? Okay, so the movie goes on. Man, we're talking a lot about this. We're already a half hour into the show. So we're talking about this. Todd and Copper meet back up, and Copper is kind of telling him, "Hey, it's good to see you, but I got to tell you, I'm a hunting dog now, so watch it." You know? So Todd doesn't watch it. Through a series of events, he is now being chased by both Chief and Copper and Amos Slade. He is forced to run onto this bridge, this railroad track bridge, where of course a train is coming. So what happens? Yeah, and I purposefully got this slide from the. Todd is able to duck under the train. Chief is stuck there like a deer in headlights or like a dog in train lights. And he is either hit by the train or jumps from the bridge, and he is injured. He doesn't die, but he's seriously injured. And then that's where Copper then looks up at Todd and blames him for this accident. What are you doing? How can you possibly look at just what happened and think that Todd had anything to do with this?
He's
blaming on Chief for running head on into a train. How about that? So anyway, this is sort of the Three's Company moment of the movie where there's always a misunderstanding leading to the conflict. So now, or Spider-Man, even when James Franco thinks that Tobey Maguire is responsible for his father's death. Same thing. History of movies, again, happens all the time.
So, but, if I can interject real quick.
Please do.
In an early version of the film, Chief was slated to die, as he did in the novel. However, the scene was modified to have Chief survive with a cast on his back paw. Animator Ron Clements, who had briefly transitioned into the story department, protested that Chief has to die. The picture doesn't work if he just breaks his leg. Copper doesn't have the motivation to hate the fox. Likewise, younger members of the story team pleaded with Stevens to have Chief killed. Stevens countered that, geez, we never killed a main character in a Disney film, and we're not starting now. So that's basically why they changed it back.
Gosh, they wanted that poor dog dead, didn't they?
Wow. That's very interesting
and brutal.
So many people wanted Chief to die.
Poor Chief.
Oh well.
I was kind of rooting for him too. But
Whatever.
I think it still works. Copper still has the motivation to hate Todd if he thinks that he's responsible for almost killing him. So yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Do you guys think it would work better if Chief died?
Well, it was Todd's fault for going up onto the train track to begin with to make all of them follow him, which is why Chief got hit or fell off or whatever happened to him and broke his leg.
I think it would make a stronger impact if he died. To me, he wasn't a main character. To me, he was a supporting character. But he was also kind of the thorn in the side of putting Copper, like training his mind where he should be thinking. So I think that would have been a trigger to create that anger more.
I think one per movie is good enough. They did it to the poor mother. Leave Chief alone.
As I think about it, if Chief were to die there, that takes away a bit of the innocence of Todd. That he's now responsible for a death, or seemingly responsible for a death. But the fact that he didn't die, still, Todd has that innocence, so we can, we can still look at him as the hunted, the innocent hunted fox that he seems to be in the movie now. I don't know, but you're right. One death is enough for a Disney movie, I guess. Whatever. So what's next? That's interesting. Thank you for looking that up about the struggle when they were animating this. So Amos Slade, dangerous. Todd is dumb. Just because he looked at all the pelts and didn't perceive the danger. But Copper is irrational. So whether he saw the accident happen or not, we now have Copper and Todd are now enemies, hunter and hunted. So,
great, you just ruined the movie Old Yeller for me. I've never seen it before.
hashtag retroactive spoiler alert.
I heard it was sad.
Okay, so now Amos Slade goes back to Widow Tweed's house. And he also thinks that the fox is responsible. He says, that fox of yours almost killed Chief. By the way, Chief is twice his size. Again, there was a train. How are you delusional enough to think the fox is responsible? You know, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. If you're out there hunting on train tracks, you might get hit by a train. That's all I'm saying.
Another thing that I told Derek was Todd had to jump over an area where there was a rock, there was a space, and then there was the rock, and then he hid underneath that little
railroad ties,
that hole. Well, no, the rocks with the hole in there, but yet the old guy got over to that side as well and walked right past the rocks because Copper led him off. And I said, how did he get across that area? I mean, that was quite a jump.
I thought the same thing. He made tremendous time for an old coot. He's chasing after a dog and a fox running full speed away from him. And in seconds, he's right behind him. So, yeah, again, I was just being silly about this. But I noticed the same thing, yeah. Maybe he's more agile than we think. Maybe he's not as old as we think. I don't know.
Welcome to ATJH Travels and also Griswold Family Vacay. Welcome, guys.
Oh, hey, guys. Thanks for being here. We're having fun talking about the Fox and the Hound. So what's next? So Amos Slade thinks that he's that Todd is responsible. Then we've got so there's Chief with his broken leg, and he's kind of
pathetic,
but also kind of cute. You know, he says, "This is the life. If you're gonna break a leg, this is how you do it. A warm cabin, a soft pillow. He's not forced to sleep in the barrels out in the dirt." So when he hears Amos Slade and Copper come back in the house, he's gonna milk it. he wants some attention, so he ambles out there dragging his broken leg. And what does Amos Slade do?
Get back in there.
Amos Slade says, and I wrote it down, he says, "Chief, get back in there before I break your other leg."
He doesn't care about it.
So he's a loving dog owner. So I thought that was comical how abusive Amos Slade is. I don't know, maybe that's the wrong reaction, but and I think it's tough words. Amos Slade, you would think, is all, his bark is worse than his bite, but he did shoot at the widow Tweed, so I don't. Who knows? I think he's a psycho, and I think he would break Chief's other leg. My opinion.
She found it in her heart to take care of his foot in the end. So
She did. That she did.
He shot at her.
So then, to protect Todd, the widow Tweed takes him out into the forest and drops him off. You're not safe here. You've got to. I'm going to abandon you to keep you safe.
That was sad.
And he ends up disturbing this badger. What's that?
Remove the collars, so he knew he was bye-bye.
Yes.
And she left him right when a thunderstorm was going to hit too. Poor thing.
You're right. I didn't even think about that, but you're right. Come on.
Oh my
Come
God.
on,
You have to wait for the weather to get better to do this first.
So at two different points, he disturbs this badger. And the second time, in the morning, because he spent the night in a porcupine's tree.
That was Piglet's voice. Yeah.
That's right. It was Piglet's voice, the porcupine. So he falls out of the tree and lands on the badger's doorway, the hole to his abode.
Dan.
And then the porcupine says something like, "Be kind to him. He's new to our neighborhood." And the badger then says, "Why don't you go back to where you came from?" So now, after hearing that, I'm thinking this movie is deeper than I first gave it credit for. This is a movie about race. This is a movie about immigration. Maybe I'm looking too far into this, but there are other lessons to be learned in this movie. So we've got that, and now I'm trying to find a deeper appreciation for this movie. So continuing on with the movie.
You're reaching for the start.
Big Mama knows of a young female fox. This is Vixie, voiced by Sandy Duncan. And what did Sandy Duncan? What was she? What were the commercials she did in the 70s and 80s?
That darn cat.
Well, she was that, but she was in a series of commercials. And it was either
knows. I can't remember. It wasn't
it Wesson oil or was it a peanut butter?
Oh,
I don't remember.
Pepper Tree Villa would like to use a lifeline,
I
please.
think it was Wesson oil.
Was it Wesson oil? Yeah.
So.
Oh, she was in the $1 Million Duck.
They said
Wheat Thins. She was hooking wheat thins. Okay. So who was pushing Wesson oil? It doesn't matter. Anyway, when I heard her voice, I could picture her on my TV, but I couldn't remember what she was on my TV for. Oh, and then she was Peter Pan on stage as well. Thank you, Linda.
Not that darn cat, the cat from outer space. That's what she was in.
She walked through a field of wheat in the commercial. All right. Anyway, I don't know why I got off on this, but let me now ask you this. This shot of Vixie is made. She's drawn to look attractive to Todd, but when I saw this, I thought, wait a minute, she's cross-eyed, and I thought, what is going on here? This is an animation decision. She's got these humongous eyes, but they're both right there in the middle. They're both looking at the end of her nose. And it's really the only time in the movie that we see this. But I couldn't ignore this.
She was Twitter pated.
Yeah.
Yes, I guess. But Anyway, I'm just having fun again. But
there was another scene with her where Derek was like, they made her look kind of psycho because it was a side profile, and she was like really
seductive.
Yes,
she was act seductive, but it looks scary.
Baba boom.
Wanda does not want to look me in the eyes when she meets me.
He's not cross-eyed, Wanda.
I'm not going to criticize you, Wanda. Come on. Unless you're animated. And never. So there's that. I thought that was kind of funny. That's the only time she looked like that. But do you see it? Am I crazy? Do you see it?
Like she's in her own world right there. Like she's out in outer space somewhere.
Yes, like, she's pumping out the pheromones or whatever's going out. She's being coy, as Mars says.
When that Big Mama Al mentioned about there's a guy she's looking for that's good looking, she was like, huh? I'll follow you.
Yes. Big Mama did sound a lot like Queen Latifah at times also. I mean, I could see Queen Latifah playing that part if he was able to do it back then.
I've always liked Pearl Bailey.
Yes. And speaking of Pearl Bailey, I didn't immediately know this was a musical. There are some songs in this movie, but they're forgettable. Like they're not great. And I thought it was kind of a waste of Pearl Bailey's talents. Like I can't write a song. I can't imagine how hard it is to come up with a hook and sensible lyrics, a melody. I'm not a musician. I don't know how to do any of that. But the voice talents in this movie were kind of wasted on these forgettable songs. Can you remember any of the songs you heard in this movie?
I only
Best Friend.
Yeah, I remember "You're the Best of Friends" song. It's like I think that's the only one I remember.
As you say that, I guess I kind of remember that. Again, am I being overly critical of this movie?
You're being like a silly, overly critical, which is fun.
I am being silly.
It's fun.
It is fun to do this. I didn't hate this movie, by the way. Before we even finished talking about it, I didn't hate it.
After all that, he didn't hate it.
No,
just to clarify.
No. I kid because I love. All right, so that's Vixie. We're almost we're coming to the end here. Oh, okay. So here's another sign of the times, or what may have once been acceptable is no longer acceptable. There were 2 times in this movie, once said by Amos Slade and another time by Todd, where their insult to another character in the movie was to call them female. And so Amos Slade did it back earlier in that movie during the car chase. He says, "Why, you blasted female!" Like that's a burn. It's just factual. And then at this scene where Todd is embarrassed that he didn't know how to fish because he's a barnyard fox, and Vixie was laughing at him. By the way, this is just making him more charming to her, but he doesn't see it because he's now outraged. And he says to her, he calls her a silly, empty-headed female. Again, what is going on here? This is toxic masculinity. Okay. But again, I don't think if this movie were made today, they'd come up with something else. Just saying. This was another thing that jumped out at me.
Well, Remus called her woman also. He was like, "Dang blasted woman, blah, 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 blah." And I'm like, "Woman? Wow."
But it's not reciprocated. She doesn't call him, you stupid man. It just doesn't sting, It doesn't. These insults, these are Disney insults, I guess. So we need something to convey anger, but it can't be terribly mean. Anyway, it just jumped out at me. So next, I guess that was it. Okay, so let me go back. Oh, here's another thing, by the way, and I'm sorry I'm dominating this conversation. I feel like I'm not bringing you in enough.
It's fine.
I'm sorry, Derek. Oh my gosh. Best 51-minute nap he's ever had. Last night I rewatched the movie just to write down some notes. And I was listening to the movie through headphones. And what I noticed in the there's a chase scene at the end that involves a bear. And again, this movie was made in 1981. And one thing I noticed while listening through it with headphones as opposed to the speaker through the television is that there is some synthesizer added to the score of this movie. It reminded me of Tron. It reminded me of early Friday the 13th movies.
Oh,
where this synthesizer was added. It's very 1981. And I couldn't immediately hear it, or it didn't register with me the first time I saw it. But watching it with headphones, and it's subtle. It's not dominant. It's a full orchestra, but synthesizer was added to, I don't know, update the sound to make it as 80s, or relevant, or to bring in modern, or what was modern in 1981. Instrumentation. I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was used just enough to add a little something. It also reminded me of the movie Creep Show. There was a lot of that music in Creep Show. Could you guys remember anything about the music like that?
I didn't even, until you said it, I didn't even think about it.
I just remember the music was like upbeat and stuff because they were fighting and everything, but I didn't really catch on a synthesizer.
Upbeat, like suspenseful?
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah. That's what it was. It was. It wasn't like a full orchestra.
You know what?
Yeah, it sounded like
it was an intense scene.
Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah. I did forget that the bear was even in the movie. I forgot all about that part, actually. And for the bear to have claws like Freddy Krueger swiping at them and them getting missed and stuff, or being thrown across the room or outside, whatever, and barely getting hurt, I'm just like, oh, that's Disney. So what are you gonna do?
And that's another thing about Amos Slade's irrational behavior. Todd jumped on the bear to save Amos Slade and Copper from being mauled by the bear. Certainly Amos Slade saw this, yet after the bear has been taken care of, Amos Slade is still going to shoot Todd. What are you doing?
His rage was still there.
It's just bloodlust at this point. But
he forgot.
Yes, I guess. It was a traumatic experience he just went through. But then Chief steps in front of Todd, or not Chief, Copper. And then so he ends up putting his gun down, and then old Mrs. Tweed takes care of Amos Slade because he was caught in his own bear trap or fox trap or whatever it was. So anyway, happy ending. Todd and Copper can no longer hang. That's just not going to happen. But at least they kind of ended on good terms. And Todd's gonna, I guess, go start a family now with Vixie. And
but he still went back to there because they're on the hill overlooking both houses, and you could see them on the porch helping each other. And then Copper was there and there, so he's there. They went back to what he was used to. They just doing their own thing.
The part that always gets me in the end is where you hear the echoes of their lines when they were little kids. When they were saying, "You're my best friend, Copper," and "You're my best friend too, Todd," and it was like an echoey, kind of like a haunting sound, and it just kind of gets to you because it's like they're no longer like that.
Yeah, that interesting audio editing choice, good sound mixing. I thought that was a nice touch as well. So yeah, like you said, Vixie and Todd are on that hillside, looking down on his old stomping grounds, and I assume taunting Amos Slade. Just yeah, you can see me in the distance. I'm still alive. No, I don't know what he's doing, but let's rate the movie. Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being best. Greg, 10 being best.
I know why you emphasize that.
Yes.
So.
What do you guys think? What do you give this movie?
I thought it was a great movie. I'd give it a 1. No. I'd probably give it maybe between 7 and 8. 7.5.
Derek?
Hi, Samantha Lowe.
That's not a score.
hey.
Hi.
I'd probably give it a 7.
Yeah. I'd give it a 6 or 7. Let's say 6.5. Yeah. Not my favorite Disney movie. There were things to enjoy, certainly. I loved watching it and trying to find things to poke fun at it with. But I did like it. I watched it multiple times. Yeah, 6.5 for me. I thought the characters were cute. The villain was kind of a joke, but it had heart.
It kept you interested in watching it. It wasn't just kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. It was like, okay, what's going to happen now?
The one little character that we didn't talk about at all was that poor little worm that kept getting hunted by those birds. And then Derek made the comment when he finally turned into a butterfly, he was like, gosh, how long did it take for him to turn into a butterfly? How much time went by? Because I guess they turn into a butterfly pretty quickly. And then I made the joke because Big Mama goes, she says something like, bye, little one, or whatever, take care. And I said, yeah, take care, chomp. And like a bird comes by and eats them.
Even if it was a butterfly, it was still going to get eaten, whether it's a worm or a butterfly.
That's what I made
the thing. He's just going to be, maybe more delicious now. I don't know. To the birds,
feel so bad for that little guy.
And then there was some crazy unicorn magic to denote that he just immediately turned into a butterfly just then. But yeah. Now, did they think he was now a bird or something? Like, I don't know. But yeah.
The little bird, his voice is familiar now. I think wasn't he the voice of the owl in Sword in the Stone?
I don't know.
They said,
was he? Oh, I don't know.
I'm remembering their voice, and it almost sounded the same, but he was kind of like spastic and high pitched in this one. But he sounded like the owl from Sword in the Stone. I could be wrong, but it sounds like
it. I don't know.
So a little bit about this film. Production on The Fox and the Hound started in 1977, and the film marked the last involvement of the remaining members of the Disney 9 Old Men, as development was handed over to a new generation of animators following the retirement of the old animators. However, the film's release was delayed over 6 months by the following the abrupt departure of Don Bluth and his team of animators. It was, if I remember right, it was considered a success in terms of box office. And I thought I read somewhere that it said it was the most expensive animated film up to the time that it was made. Make it. So a little bit of information about it.
Thank you.
It was from a book, 1967, written by Danny something.
Didn't you say the book wasn't as happy as this movie?
Well, Chief died in it. But,
oh, okay. I thought something else happened.
Yeah.
So many stories aren't as happy as the Disney versions of them,
Bambi.
Right. Little Mermaid. Yeah.
It's a Fox and the Hound 2, which I still have not seen yet, but I'm thinking it takes place in between when they're still kids and not adults yet, because I think in the picture it shows them as kids, or maybe it could be their kids. I don't know, but it came out in 2006, so I still want to see that because I don't know what that's about.
I don't either. I saw it again. I mean, I haven't seen the movie, but I saw that it's, when you watch the Fox and the Hound on Disney Plus, the next movie to come up is the sequel. So that I immediately hit the back button on and to go back to the other menu. But yeah, I don't know if I'm interested in seeing that.
I'll let you know how it is, and maybe you'll watch it.
All right. Should we get to our second movie then?
Yes.
All right.
Much happier movie.
It is much happier, much sillier.
I love this.
1995's A Goofy Movie. Again, this came at a time I had just graduated from college. I was doing other, getting a job. I just didn't see this when it was released. I have no emotional connection to it. It doesn't evoke any nostalgia or warm feelings because I just saw it in the past 3 weeks. Did you see it when it came out?
So I don't think I saw it. I didn't see it in a theater, but I watched it on DVD, and I remember seeing it with my dad also, which is why I connect that, and why towards the end I always seem to get choked up on that one spot. But so yeah, I have a connection to it. But I've always liked this movie. I think it's hilarious in a lot of ways.
I'm not a big Goofy fan, and I only watched it because Greg kept telling me I should watch it. So, and that was like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago.
It's hilarious, though. It's one of the funniest movies I think Disney has.
He's like, even like when we were watching, he was like busting up, and I'm like, well,
because this is the 12th time you've seen this. No, I just saw it 3 weeks ago. I watched it again yesterday to get to capture some shots from it. So let's get into it. I suppose it starts. I'm not going to recite the whole movie, but it's the premise is Goofy has a son named Max, who's got his own thing going. It's really Max's movie. It's not Goofy's movie. It should be called a Max movie. That's neither here nor there, I suppose. But Max is understandably concerned that his father, Goofy, is an embarrassment to him because he's embarrassing. Movie starts out with a dream sequence where Max is turning into his father, is turning into Goofy. He doesn't like the way he acts or sounds. His little hoo like that is embarrassing to him. Spoiler alert. Come to find out, the girl that he's after finds that charming. She likes that laugh. Anyway, so it starts out with a dream sequence. He is awakened by a phone call, or he gets a phone call after he wakes up, really. And this is where we see our first Easter egg.
Yep.
Do you know the Easter egg?
Yep.
All right. It's his Mickey Mouse phone. My sister had one of these.
Those are probably hard to find now. Maybe.
I wonder what happened to hers. Frankly, landline phones are hard to find now, aren't they? But, how cool would it be if you could hook your cell phone up to that?
That would be awesome.
Call forwarding. Can you do that? You must be able to do that.
Probably could.
Oh, well. Yes. Now, I didn't look up a list of Easter eggs that are found in this movie. I just went as I was watching, and I thought, oh, hey, that's the Mickey phone. So I have a few of these, and there might be more. Greg, I don't know if you can fill me on some that I miss, but that was fun to see. So I like that. Let's see. Back to okay. So here's my next point. His father comes into the room and is as Goofy has ever been. Now, my point in showing you this is that I've heard multiple times from multiple people that the new style of Disney animation, I'll just show you this button. That's the new style of Mickey Mouse.
I don't like that.
People don't like it. It's too much Ren and Stimpy. Goofy in this animation, and he is seen in the new Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. He's a character in that ride.
Looks like he's stoned.
And he's a character in the Mickey Mouse shorts that have that new style of animation. Anyway, I have heard multiple times that Goofy looks like he's cracked out, like he is on drugs.
Does. Yes, he looks like he's stoned.
I give you this and tell you he has always looked like he's on drugs.
He looks like more adorable looking stoned, I guess you would say.
He looks like Dippity Dog.
So more marijuana here and less crack cocaine.
Oh my God.
I don't know. Okay, I see what you're saying. I don't mind the new style animation. Take it or leave it, whatever. It is what it is, and that's a phrase I don't love saying, but I don't mind it. But Goofy has always been Goofy. I mean, that's I don't know. Was that silly to say? I suppose it was. So Max is embarrassed by his father. It's come to find out it's the last day of school for Max. And for some reason, they're having a school-wide assembly at his school on the last day of school. No exams, apparently. So exams are over, or they never had them, and now they just want a last day of school for all the kids to gather and contract coronavirus. No, that's not what they're doing. That's not what happened. Where am I? So it's the last day of school, and there's a musical number again. Same with The Fox and the Hound and a Goofy movie. I did not know this was a musical. There are a few musical numbers in here. I will say I liked the music in this movie more than I liked the music in The Fox and the Hound.
Oh, yeah.
You
Catchier.
Yeah. Maybe it's because the tone of the movie is different. This is a more fun movie, I guess. So the songs are more fun. But this is a high school musical scene right here going on. But I did like the music, and certainly who is the rock star that everybody loves?
Powerline.
He plays a big part of the movie, so he's got some songs. So maybe I should have expected the music to come up, but I didn't. I thought this was. Let me say this. Before I went into this movie, I thought it was going to be on par with a direct-to-video Disney film. But it wasn't. This was released in theaters, correct?
No, it was. But I'll explain a little bit more. We'll go over like the history of it. But it was made by Movie Tunes. The first one they ever did was DuckTales. So it wasn't the same production of like the major animators. It was a side animation, and I don't even know if this was made in the U.S. So they were, and some critics said this wasn't even a B movie; it was a C movie.
Wow.
So, yeah.
But you're right. As you say that, the style of animation looks like that of what we would see on TV. DuckTales, you mentioned. That makes sense, as opposed to classic Disney animated feature films. So I guess just aesthetically, I would think that this is a direct-to-video grade movie, just based on its aesthetics, the way the animation looks. But it was released in theaters.
Yep.
Okay.
I think it was the 4th or 7th one that was released. Movie Tunes did a total of 47 of them, but I think at the change towards the end, they weren't called Disney Movie Tunes. They were called something else, Walt Disney something. But they were one of 47, and most of those were like the part twos of like Pocahontas Part 2. whatever that was called, Voyage Home or whatever that was. So basically all those movies, and some of them are released at the theaters, some of them were direct to video.
Are you talking about the Gold Collection?
No, it's called Movie Tunes, was a production company that they were named as. But there was a total of 47 that they had released. They're no longer making anything under those names.
Interesting. Most everything is computer animated. Are traditional animated things still being made?
The
Like
last
the new DuckTales? I haven't seen it.
Princess and the Frog was the last traditional animated movie I think Disney's done.
Even on television, like the Disney Channel or what's available on Disney Plus, are things? Do they look like this, or are they computer? Is everything computer animated?
Yeah, I'm not even sure anymore.
I don't even know.
I like them to go back to pencil and paper drawing, though. I've always liked that. It shouldn't always be about computer.
As I say this, I had already mentioned this. These are not computer, or at least they look like they're drawn.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, what am I thinking? I already know the answer to my question.
I like the music in this movie. It was very upbeat and flowing. And I think the power line part, where Max goes to the school and reenacts how his power line, I think some of that was computerized, like the glasses and stuff and the big screen. I highly doubt that they would be drawing that with the flashing and stuff. That all looks kind of computerized to me. It looked too polished.
So a blend of styles.
Mm-hmm.
All right. During this musical number is where I saw another Easter egg, and it's not necessarily a Disney Easter egg. It's just the fact that these two nerds pop up for 2 seconds, and they're just like Star Trek characters.
Yeah, Shatner and well, that wouldn't be Spock. That would be Bones.
Oh yeah.
Oh wait, was Bones in the blue, or was Spock in a blue?
Spock certainly was
blue. Okay.
Scotty was red. Uhuru
was red.
Bones was he also blue?
He might have been, yeah.
Okay.
Science officer.
So there was that. So that was the second thing I saw to show their nerdiness, I suppose.
I did not even see that. That's so cool.
Oh. Then Max, Goofy's son, Max has this plan. During this assembly, he's going to dress up like Powerline. And on a backstage, his plan is to stay backstage the whole time. Through a video, his friend's going to PJ. His friend PJ is going to videotape him. Or have the video camera on him. So on a screen, he's going to show up as Powerline and interrupt this assembly. Why did he do this?
He was trying to impress Roxanne.
So was his plan to then reveal himself at the end?
I think he was just trying to get away with it without
getting caught. Oh, and then say, "Hey, everybody, that was me." I didn't understand the rationale. Anyway, what happens is he stumbles or is pushed out on stage, or the curtain comes crashing down. It's revealed he has to be on stage now. Disney Nerd Herders, welcome to the show. So then through a series of comical errors, he is his belt gets hooked on a hook and rope, and he's flying through the crowd, which actually makes him look super awesome. That he's flying through the crowd wasn't part of his plan, but there he is, and his other buddy Bobby, who is an uncredited performance by Pauly Shore.
He was perfect for that role.
Hey, Dennis.
Dennis, welcome. He's popping in to say hello, and then he says, "Hope you're okay in Florida with the dust storm." Interesting. I didn't know of the dust storm. My wife told me about it, and that it was coming, and it was going to be bad over Florida. But so far, so good. But I'm going to, after this, I'm going to have to look at that more closely, because I'm thinking like dust storm. I don't know exactly what's headed our way. So
It's pretty bad.
Thank you for the well wishes, Dennis.
It's from Africa.
So far, so good.
Africa.
What's that?
It's pretty bad. It's coming from Africa, and it's pretty thick dirt that's coming over.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna. After this is over, I'm gonna. I'm gonna prep prayer. Okay, so this is the Principal Mazer, who is voiced by Wallace Shawn, who you may know as Rex from Toy Story, and he's Bob Parr's boss from The Incredibles.
Yep.
Among other, there's probably other Disney stuff he's done, but those are the two that I know.
Oh, wasn't he also the Grand Nagus in Deep Space Nine?
The what?
Disney, though.
The Grand Nagus in
Yes,
Deep Space Nine. He was a Ferengi.
Yes.
Oh, was he? Never saw that.
He's the one that he talks like this.
Yeah, he was in The Princess Bride, but
Oh yes,
Disney movies.
Inconceivable.
Yeah.
Yes, that's him. So it was fun to hear his voice. Again, he's another one of those voice actors, doesn't have to put on a voice. They want him for his voice, the way they want Paul Winchell. The way they want so many of these actors. He's just got a great cartoony voice. It's fun to hear. So that's Wallace Shawn. During this scene, I see another Easter egg. Do you know what it is?
Yes.
What is it?
Well, I don't know if I should say it, because I want to know if it's what I'm thinking of. Does it have to do with Mickey Mouse?
Oh, no.
Oh,
That's
okay.
not the one I saw.
Oh, yeah, Ariel.
Ariel. Yeah, let me hit.
There was another part where we thought Ariel was there when they were at that Coral Hotel or whatever, and the light switch kind of
That's
looked
right. That's right. So this is a stage prop backstage at the assembly. It's clearly Ariel, and then later on in the movie, a similar image appears as a nightlight in the hotel room or motel room they're staying in. Yeah,
that's seductive, Ariel.
Seductive.
Racy.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I'll just yeah. We don't have to linger. But what Easter egg were you talking about with Mickey Mouse?
Well, it's either in this part or the actual Powerline concert, but Mickey Mouse is in the audience.
Is he really? I didn't see that. I don't have that one.
There's a picture here.
Stay safe, Charlie. And Stacy. And kids.
Open it. Oh, good Lord. Here, let me just... Okay. So there is Mickey Mouse.
Oh, let me go. Oh, hang on. I gotta go. There we go. Oh, how about that? Very cool. No, I didn't know. It was it passed me by. Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, and there's this other character. I don't know who he is, but maybe he's from... It's this...
Country Bear Jamboree, isn't it?
No, I don't know, but that one with the cap on.
Oh, the one in the middle there?
No, with the cap on it. Him. They were saying that they gave his name. Here, let me see.
I don't know about that one.
What? W-H-U-T? Is he from Treasure Planet or something?
Oh, I don't know. I never saw that.
What? or Woot. I don't know how
know.
you say it, but yeah, apparently he was an Easter egg. So, but moving on. Sorry.
Okay. Long story short, I know, too late. The assembly ends. The three guys, Bobby, PJ, and Max, they kind of get in trouble, but Roxanne and Max, they meet up in the office and they plan a date or something. And so things are going well for Max. In the next scene, we see Goofy at work, where he is a child's photographer.
I love that.
Pete is his boss. By the way, Pete is the worst boss in the history of bosses. I'll get to that in a second. But this is another Easter egg. Do you see the stuffed animals behind him?
Bambi,
Simba,
or Mufasa. It looks like
certainly that could be somebody from The Lion King, but that's clearly Bambi, don't you think?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't know that one.
So that was another one I saw. Here is Goofy at work. Goofy apparently works for Pete, and he's a child's photographer. And by the way, he's awesome at it.
Yeah.
He can get these kids to laugh and smile, and it's like he was born for this job. Pete is his boss, and for some reason, this irks Pete. He resents Goofy for being such a good employee, I guess. I don't understand it.
And karma bites in the butt, too.
He should make Goofy, yes, that's right. He should make Goofy a full partner, but instead he wants to show how good at this he is also. So he pushes Goofy aside. Of course, it's not going well. It doesn't go well.
Lucky woman.
Yeah.
That's what he says.
So instead of appreciating Goofy for all of the riches that he is bringing on him, Pete resents him, which is, and we know that Pete is making a good living through this because of his RV. We see he's got the world's greatest recreational vehicle ever made that we see later in the movie because they go on a camping vacation.
Tiny extension cord that ends up being a huge hose.
That's right. Turns out to be the Alaskan pipeline. Yes. It's
We've had
ridiculous.
People join us. Anna, Teresa, Kay, welcome. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here, Kay and Teresa. Anna was the first one here. But welcome. Thank you for being here. So we've got this. Then Pete's a dumb boss. Goofy's an amazing employee. So it's at work where Goofy gets a call from Principal Mazer. And this is what he tells Goofy. And this, being an educator myself, this struck me. Principal Mazer says to Goofy, quote, "I'd seriously reevaluate the way you're raising your child before he ends up in the electric chair." Okay, so unquote. So first of all, maybe don't tell parents how to raise their kid. That's not the best way to get through. Parents don't respond kindly when you tell them you're not doing a great job raising your kid. Just watch Dr. Phil. No, I don't know. I've never watched Dr. Phil. I imagine he says stuff like that.
You did forget the little bit of what I would consider child abuse in the photography area, where he puts the patch of Velcro on the thing and then slaps it on her butt and sticks her on the Velcro so that she wouldn't get up to take the picture. Then she ends up getting out of her clothes and runs around the store naked.
Hashtag Disney nudity. Yes.
That was hilarious.
I did remember seeing it. I did not screen capture that. I didn't, I wanted to keep a PG-13 rating. So, no, we're, yes, exactly. Pete is not good at that. Stick to the administration at your job. Let Goofy take care of the photography.
Hey, it's Joey's World.
The whole scene was
Welcome.
funny. Hey, it's Joey's
Hey,
World.
it's Joey's World.
15.
So, again, Principal Mazer, don't threaten people with the electric chair, okay? It's the last day of school. What are you going to do? Send these kids to detention? Nothing's going to happen. Let it go. Yeah, it just struck me as an educator. You don't want to tell people, hey, reevaluate the way you're raising your children. It just doesn't work like that. But I digress.
He's kind of like the principal from Ferris Bueller's Day Off in a way. He doesn't really care what he says.
A little bit, yes. He's a little, but that's it. From after this, we don't see much of Principal Mazer again, and I like hearing his voice. But look how mad he is. His eyes are different colors now.
That's worse than a cross-eyed fox.
So now Goofy thinks he has to save Max from the electric chair. So what better way to connect to your son than to force him to go on a vacation he doesn't want to go on? So that's what happens. So he takes him on a camping road trip because Pete suggested it. And so he loads him into the car. Pete's not really having it. He's got to call off the date with Roxanne. He lies to Roxanne saying, hey, I'm going to be on the Powerline concert. Watch me on pay-per-view. Pay-per-view struck me also. They say pay-per-view a few times in the movie. But instead of now, it's on demand. That's all I'm saying. If George Lucas is going to update this movie, change pay-per-view to on demand. That's just me. But so he comes up with this outrageous, goofy lie that he's going to be on this concert of the admittedly biggest rock star in the world, because that's easy. And so he immediately lies to the girl that he likes, and he's forced on this road trip. The road trip, in order to get to soften Max, he comes up with he's got a list of games to play. So he comes up with 20 questions, and this is another Easter egg where Goofy is thinking of a man or a person, and Max has to guess who he's thinking of. So he says, "Is it a man?" Yes. And do you know who he says he is? Do you remember?
Walt Disney.
Yes, he says he's Walt Disney. So another a verbal Easter egg, if you will. So that was interesting. That was fun to have in there. That's almost a meta joke. Myers and the Mouse, welcome to the show. The fact that they would mention Walt Disney, who is the person that created Goofy. No, just that was very meta to me. A joke about a joke. It realizes it's a joke. Anyway, I'll move on. This is dull already. Okay, so we've got they're on the road trip. It's not going so great. Oh, another Easter egg, by the way, that you see in the car. Do you know what it is, Greg?
Disney keychain.
Yes. You're good at that. Oh, wait, did I get it? Oh, I missed it. I didn't get it. I didn't get the keychain, but there's a keychain that has the Disney D right on it.
Well, that's all on top of the car, you mean? Is there something on top of the car? I can't see it.
No, this is another screen capture. It has nothing to do with the keychain. This has to do with the next thing I was going to bring up. The next musical number, and it's what is it called? It's called Open Road. The song is called Open Road.
So are you asking me about Easter egg on that part?
No, I missed the Easter egg. I forgot to get the screen capture.
Oh,
you keep bringing it up, Greg, and that hurts me. So,
well, there was a Disney keychain, so
I'm kidding. No, this one, this is another Easter egg, and it's also an audio Easter egg. And I have it ready here. Okay, so do you guys know what a Wilhelm Scream is?
No.
Okay. Let me school you on what a Wilhelm Scream is. A Wilhelm Scream is a sound effect used in movies since the 1950s, and it is a particular sound of a man screaming. And movie makers have been using this particular scream for years and years and years. They still do it today. You can hear it in commercials. You can hear it in movies. Steven Spielberg and George Lucas use it over and over again. And I have the example of the Wilhelm Scream. So I'm going to play it, and you tell me if this sounds familiar to you. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here it is.
That's Star Wars.
It is. It's used in Star Wars in almost every movie, if not every Star Wars movie. Here it comes again.
Yeah,
So
Star Wars, when they fall and stuff.
This was first used in a movie where one of the characters was called Wilhelm, and he shot in the leg. It was a cowboy movie. So he shot in the leg with an arrow, and he screams. And it's such a silly sound, and it's such a crazy scream. And that's one thing, but it was also, it was used multiple times in that same movie. So if you watch that first movie, and it's called something like Incident at Rock Ridge or something like that. So it was used when he gets shot in the leg with an arrow. There's another time where a cowboy and an Indian are tumbling down a rocky hill, and you hear it again there. And then there's another scene where I think maybe somebody's getting attacked in a river, but that same sound, and it's distinguishable, is used in that same movie. So the fact that it was used multiple times, they must have loved that sound because they used it multiple times in that one movie. And it's been used. People take this sound and they add it to movie. It's in Toy Story. You can hear it in Toy Story when Buzz gets knocked out the window. The lamplight. Mm-hmm. You hear this. And it's in every Star Wars movie.
I don't know where they play that in this part of the movie, though. What's happening?
Right here. So it's the song called Open Road. And this is a scene where Goofy's driving, but he's also looking at the map.
Oh.
He is covering his entire field of vision. He's only looking at the map, yet he's still driving. And Child Protective Services hasn't taken away Max yet, but apparently they haven't seen him drive. Max sees that, oh my God, they're about to crash. So he tries to take the wheel and steer away, but they careen into this construction crew. And you hear this. So that Wilhelm Scream happens in a Goofy movie at this point in a Goofy movie. That's where you see this.
It's Joey's World made a comment about it. He thinks you should be using it.
This will have to be one of your added sound effects. I can make that happen. Yes. So every time I mention D&G Explorers.
Oh, wow.
Doesn't have to be that.
Did you notice on the open road part, there is a goofed up version of this character? Because it kind of looked like him, but he had like long ears, like Goofy has long ears. Not in this shot, but when they're all dancing on the road and there's one character dancing on top of the car, do you realize who I think it represents?
Who?
The Crypt Keeper.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's dancing on top of the hearse. And I'm just
yes.
Like, that's weird, but it's funny.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. It's kind of a green face, and it looks like the Crypt Keeper. You're right. I didn't connect that, but you're right about that in this. Oh, and by the way, and in the back of one of the cars during this sequence, a trunk pops open, and you can see a guy tied up, and and his feet are in a concrete brick. So he's obviously going to be taken to be dumped in a river somewhere. Do you remember that?
No.
Oh, it's awful. Apparently a joke. So, but you see, this car must be driven by gangsters, and in their trunk is a guy tied up, and his feet are encased in concrete, and he's still singing along. I guess I don't know.
I think that whole number is a great number for that movie. It's fun, and there's so many things going on in it.
Agreed. Again, these songs are, in my opinion, better than the songs from The Fox and the Hound. So, what do you think,
Ben?
Gosh,
we can discuss this later. Okay, so what's next? Okay, electric chair, Disney keychain, Wilhelm Scream.
you have to talk about Lester's Possum Farm. That is one of the funniest parts of the whole movie.
There it is.
Yes, I love that part of the movie.
They're on their road trip. They come up to Lester's Possum Park. Inside Lester's Possum Park, there is a show called Possum Posse Jamboree. Clearly taken its inspiration from Country Bear Jamboree.
There's even a Buford in there.
Yep. Buford, Mordecai, and somebody else.
I don't remember their names. But yeah, I mean, it's a podunk roadside attraction.
It's
It
old.
was fun to see it because it's clearly, even the seating in the little theater looks like Country Bear Jamboree. So
It's old as dirt.
this was funny. This was a good part. Yes.
Yes,
They also,
to make it work.
instead of having coonskin caps, they have dead possum caps
Yes.
that they're wearing. But yeah, this was another awesome Easter egg to call Country Bear Jamboree. And Frank, when you showed that picture on your phone, I thought you were talking about Big Al, the guy that was at the bottom of that picture.
It looked like that, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that looked like Big Al. Were you? Was that the one you were talking about? The one from Treasure Planet?
No,
It was a character above
it
him.
was he had a smaller head. The guy above him, his mouth was
Okay.
kind of crookedy.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I think he was from Treasure Planet, which I haven't seen yet either.
Yes, the one under that guy looked kind of like Big Al. I don't know if it was supposed to be him or not, but yeah. So this was very amusing. This was a good part of the film. By the way, and then after this, Max really doesn't want to be on this road trip, but Goofy loosens up the reins a bit and he says, Max, I trust you. Wherever you want to go on this road trip, let's go. And then the road trip takes off and it becomes awesome. It's an awesome father and son road trip. They go they're jet skiing. There's a montage of their road trip. They go jet skiing. They're at an amusement park where they're on a roller coaster. They go to a monster truck rally.
A bat cave.
A bat cave, Earl's Amazing House of Yarn, to throw Goofy a nod. Max realizes everywhere we're going now is for me, but let me throw something to my dad. So they go to Earl's Amazing House of Yarn.
What was the name of that bat cave you were saying something about?
Well, instead of Carl's bed, it was Carl's Butt's cavern.
Carl's Butt Caverns. Yes. They go to a baseball game, and then they run into a mime, and it looks like they're in New Orleans.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
Frank Porter.
I don't understand because he acts like he's cutting the rope and then a piano falls on him. And I'm like, is that just coincidence? Or
It was. Crazy coincidence.
and then
Or Goofy's dealing in black magic. I don't know. I don't know for sure.
killed the guy, poor thing.
Yes. So the road trip's going well. They run again into Pete and PJ.
That was kind of
Goofy's telling Pete, "Oh, the road trip's going awesome now." Pete says, "Nope, you got to keep them under your thumb." Again, Pete is an idiot. Doesn't know what's going on.
and they had live fish in the waterbed that you can see. And I said, how do the
That's right.
fish breathe? How do they feed these things?
Don't worry about it. Exactly. That's at the motel. Yeah, later. It's I wrote down my favorite part of the movie, and I don't remember. This is just a shot. This is a shot of the RV where they meet Bigfoot. Oh, that's right. I do remember now. So here is the awesome RV. They run into Bigfoot, and this is my favorite. This is my favorite part of the movie. Max's Walkman ends up on the head of Bigfoot, and it starts playing "Staying Alive."
Yep.
And you see as they're stuck in the car because they don't want to get mauled by Bigfoot, you can see Bigfoot disco dancing in the background. Just goes from right to left. That was my favorite gag in the movie right there. That was fun to see.
And he had the sock puppets too and everything. And he had the underwear on his head also.
Yes. And then, by the way, during this montage, they have to replace at least 3 different tires. So I don't know if that's Goofy's driving, if they're just taking the back roads. Anyway, where are they storing these spare tires? Are they then patching them after they replace, where they're just using the same ones over and over? I don't know. Again, yes, dead fish, spare tires. So many questions in this movie. But again, they're having a blast. They're having a blast there. And I don't have, I think maybe one other one other screen capture from this movie, but that's it. So then they there's a part where Pete actually tells Goofy he's playing you. You're going to Los Angeles. You trusted the wrong kid. Their car ends up in a river, and they're floating down a river. They almost die.
And they have a musical number too.
Musical number.
While the car's floating.
So, long story short, I know
30 miles that car floated.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And who knew the Colorado River was perfect for floating your car down? I didn't. Whatever. And it's funny, at the end of the movie, they get their car back after it goes off the waterfall. I don't know how that happened.
They messed up national monuments too when they were crashing onto the rocks that were on top of each other. I was like, oh my God, they're messing up national monuments.
They make it to Los Angeles. They stow away in equipment cases. So a roadie takes these equipment cases into the auditorium where the Powerline concert's happening. By the way, the concert has already started, or it's just about to start, yet the roadie's still unloading equipment. What?
We forgot something. Here we go.
Yeah. So that was interesting. So they stow away, they make it into the auditorium. And then they find their way. They actually make it on stage with Powerline and they dance with him, and everybody at home is watching it on pay-per-view, not on demand, pay-per-view. And so it actually turns out great for Goofy and Max to have this awesome road trip. He gets to meet Powerline, I guess. And then they go back home, and they go back to Roxanne's house, where Max admits that he lied to her, but she forgives him. She likes his laugh. And then Goofy's car explodes, sending him into the air about 5,000 feet. And he crashes into her awning, the roof of her awning. And all I can think about is, oh no, Roxanne's dad is going to kill Goofy.
Never comes out though.
Because Roxanne's dad is this monster of a guy who, yes, you should be afraid of. But and he was mad at Max just for coming to visit his daughter. Imagine if you were to damage his house, how he might react. And then that's where we see Goofy sticking out the roof of the awning at the end of the movie. And I just thought that's not going to end well for Goofy. But that's the end of the movie.
Do you know who Powerline was supposed to be after? Like who they made him after?
I'd imagine there was a bit of Michael Jackson in there. No?
No.
Tell me.
They made him after Bobby Brown.
Really?
And you could totally see that too back in the 80s. That's kind of how Bobby Brown looked. But
wow.
Yeah, I was reading up on it.
During the road trip back in that open road number, didn't a limousine go by and there was a glittery glove sticking out of the sunroof?
I don't remember that.
Was that Powerline? Or I don't know. Maybe I don't want to introduce crazy stuff that I'm getting wrong.
I know Martha Wash. I think it's her. It sounded like her. She was the woman singer at the Powerline concert. She had that little part in it where she was saying "Eye to Eye" or whatever.
Oh, right.
When Goofy walked in on her, and I at first I was like, was that a guy or a girl? Because he had no hair on, and she was like holding up a dress or something, like covering herself, and then she had a wig on for that. She popped up for that little number, and yeah, so that was it for her. So, but I guess there was a picture here. They were in two different scenes.
Oh, by the way, that musical number, Eye to Eye.
Mm-hmm.
There's a channel in our community. It's called Disney Eye to Eye, or Eye to Eye Disney Through Our Veins, or something like that. They're on Thursday nights. They have a trivia show, and I now understand the name of their channel. I now know where that comes from because of finally watching a Goofy movie. What do we got?
So Donald and Mickey were in the movie. On the open road part, they were hitchhiking, it looks like.
I missed it.
And then you got the Little Mermaid.
Yep.
There's on the open road part, there is actually, you can't see it very well, but there's a Mickey Mouse balloon in there, the yellow Mickey Mouse balloon.
Oh, I missed that too.
A familiar couple. So you see, remember this couple during On the Open Road number. It's not the only time you see them. The man appears at the Powerline concert movie stage equipment while the woman is backstage in a dressing room. Spoiler, she was wearing a wig. So I'll try to blow it up. So that's them on the open road. And
right,
then
more hashtag Disney nudity, by the way.
Then he's the equipment guy, and then she is actually the one that's the singer that puts the wig on. That's the one that Goofy walks in on. So they're the same people from the open road and from the other thing. They're saying that the nuns were actually from the open road. They were on their way to the concert. Here's the keychain.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then Powerline, yeah, he's after Bob. They did him after Bobby Brown.
Oh, wow.
So you can kind of see
the yellow, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe Powerline was voiced by what's his name, Tevin Campbell, who was I think Quincy Jones's next big star. It never really happened that way. He had a little success in the 90s, but this is probably his biggest claim to fame is being a voice in a Goofy movie.
Did you have some stuff on there? You said it was Tevin Campbell before. I remember.
Tevin Campbell was the singer. Yeah, he had. I remember he had one hit. I don't know that much about him, but I remember hearing him. He was a young kid when he
I don't even know what he looks like.
But this is more regards to the movie. Sorry, I'm trying to find the right spot.
It wasn't very popular. It became a cult classic over time, but you were saying it was a continuation from Goof Troop.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a TV special, and they decided to make it into a animated feature. Here we go. Disney came up with the idea to make a theatrical animated film starring Goofy while concerning ideas for a potential Goof Troop TV special. Lima wanted to expand out Goofy as a character and give him an emotional side which would resonate with audiences. Much of the cast members from the show reprised their roles, including Farmer as Goofy, who Jeffrey Katzenberg wanted to have Goofy as an original voice, and it was sounded like it was recorded with him an original voice, and then they switched it back to having Farmer did the traditional Goofy voice that we're familiar with. The storyline, Jeffrey Katzenberg at that time was having a bad relationship with Disney, and this picture has been attached to Jeffrey Katzenberg. The film's release was deemed by Disney to be merely a contractual obligation. So they really didn't push this much of it.
Didn't push the movie much.
No, and the story originally came from Katzenberg, in which he and his daughter, with whom he had an estranged relationship at the time, went on a road trip together, during which they bonded and their relationship considerably improved. So
they just replaced it with Max the son.
Yeah. And it really wasn't, none of the major animators were featured on this since it was done by the Movie Tunes.
Wow. And then Jeffrey Katzenberg went on to form DreamWorks with Steven Spielberg and David Geffen, right? Yeah.
There was a part. Oh, go. Sorry. Go
No, you go.
You didn't mention, because when we were talking about Fox and the Hound, you said that they used the voice from the sheriff, I think, or the guy that was chief and also the sheriff in Robin Hood. They used him a little bit in the Goofy movie on the open road part. Who did he play?
The
diner.
Did I say the open road part?
Or the diner. I think it was the diner.
I have to look it up. Maybe I have it still called up on my phone.
I know you said we'll get to that, when we talk about this, but I just thought of it now. But
okay.
I don't remember a familiar voice in the diner part.
All right. So it was wait, whose voice were we talking about? It was
you were saying that he did a small part. I think he played
Chief.
Yeah, Chief.
Okay.
And Robin
so that's Pat Buttram is the name of the actor. And then he was a voice in Robin Hood, the Aristocats, Back to the Future 3. How about that? Okay, Goofy movie. Here we go. I have to see which voice coming up. Here we go. It wasn't, he just had a line, I think. Oh, he was the MC at Possum Park.
Oh, he was the one that hit the wall to make it work because they were like stuck or something. Okay,
yeah,
makes sense.
So he's got that good hillbilly voice. Or,
the old guy.
But that was his, as you mentioned earlier, that was his last film before he passed away. So
this movie's popularity has grown to like a cult following as it's gone along, from it getting a lot of mixed reviews at the beginning. But it's gained popularity. Some of the critics didn't like the music at first, but now it's known for the songs that are in it. But I think one of the biggest things of it is the timeless qualities of when parents they're the age different from when they grew up to the new kids that are growing up, and they look at their parents as being like they're embarrassed of their parents. And that still resonates nowadays, how that can happen. So,
which is sad.
Yeah. And so I think it was a good quality movie with good meanings, and the fact that it was a different Goofy that we got to see an emotional side of Goofy, and it wasn't just based on his antics.
Did you watch this with your son?
I did not. No. I know you suggested it, but it didn't. It just didn't happen. Yet.
Do you think he would watch it with you or like it?
Maybe. I don't know if somebody just watching it for the first time, without having grown up with it, if it's going to resonate strongly as it would with others. But I'd be interested in finding out. Yeah. But Mara made the point that Pat Buttram was also Mr. Haney in Green Acres. Yeah, that's interesting. Frankly, I quite often think, I'm a high school teacher, if you're unaware. I'm often dumbstruck by things that my students like that I never thought that they would like. I'm surprised Friends is as popular as it is now. My students love that. There are other things I can't think of right now, but like I can never write anything off as they'll never like this, because inevitably I'm wrong about that. So I don't, maybe the boy would love this. We'll have to find out. Back to Goofy though. Derek, I think you mentioned this before. I hope I don't actually remember if it was before this show or during it, but I agreed with you that Goofy's not my favorite character. And he's just he stresses me out. You know what I mean? Like it's always chaos with him.
That's why he's goofy. He's
goofy just a bit much.
I don't like that laugh. That yeah, I hear that. Yeah, I hear that. I'm thinking cheesy.
That was from way back when they first did the hand drawn old cartoons of him.
I just always thought that was
like done. with the ski slope and everything. He did a lot of that on that one. So,
but he's dangerous. He's dangerously inept at everything except child's photography. He damaged Max's cardboard standee of Powerline in his bedroom at the beginning of the movie. Do you remember that?
He got that squeaker stuck in his throat, which was making the baby laugh, but see, he even harms himself.
Yes. How he's been able to live this long, I have no idea. Their car, just look at their automobile at the end of the movie, and that
I'm surprised.
Blew up.
Yep.
It blew up. So let's rate this movie. I asked you about The Fox and the Hound. Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being best. Greg, what do you give a Goofy movie?
8.5.
He really likes this movie.
Yeah.
It is one of my favorites. I think it's one of the funniest movies from Disney.
I probably give it a 6, only because I'm not a huge fan of Goofy.
And what did you give Fox and the Hound?
7.
Oh wow.
But I did like the story. It's one of those ones like you're watching it, I'm thinking, all right, let's keep going. And then I didn't find it as humorous as Greg did.
Because you have to think about what you're seeing. I think it's hilarious. You just have to look at the little things that they do in it. It's hilarious.
But I really liked the message that they sent, and I liked how they gave Goofy a more emotional side, because Goofy was trying so hard to have an improved relationship with his son because they were growing apart, and I felt for him. So I really like that portion of the story. But I would still give it a 6 just because of it being goofy.
I guess my humor from this movie is, because I appreciate it, is more childlike appreciation for the childlike humor in this movie, which is maybe why I find it more funny. It's just some of the things that you don't find funny, I find funny because it's my childlike being coming out, I guess.
I have a more sophisticated sense of humor.
Oh, yes. Don't put yourself on a pedestal. There's nothing sophisticated about you. Sorry, what would you give it?
I lean closer to Derek's rationale with this. Goofy's not my favorite. He stresses me out, but I like this movie more than I thought I would. I appreciated all of the Easter eggs. I liked that not only was Goofy goofy, but yeah, there was a range of emotions there. So he was sad, he was angry at times. There was more to Goofy than just his silliness.
No,
So
it's
that
not.
was interesting to me. I think a 7. I think I would give this a 7.
Avery
So-
gave it an 8.
So you actually give it a higher rating than Fox and the Hound.
I do. Yes.
Which means he likes it more than Fox of the Hound.
Well, if you gave it a higher score.
Yes,
Yes.
which is kind of what I was thinking. He would like a Goofy movie more, but then I also thought, well, what if you like Fox and the Hound better?
Did you
But I
ever
was
relate
right.
it to you and your son personally, like things you might have gone through?
No, my son doesn't like Powerline. No, I'm kidding.
God.
No. Not really. Nor with my own father. Maybe it has to. Goofy in this movie is a single parent, and maybe that's a whole other dynamic. I never had that. Was fortunate enough to my parents stayed together. My wife and I are together, so there's maybe another dynamic. Goofy and Max had this hurdle they had to get over that I just never had that same hurdle. So, but it was charming to see them connect the way they did. They made Max was able to make lemonade out of those lemons, and what could have he could have pouted the whole time, but as I think about this, really he liked it because he was sabotaging it. He was going to Los Angeles. He wasn't going to that fishing trip.
I did like the moments that they had between father and son, and the high dad soup, and the thing he uses his teeth to open up the can. So he shows Max like a trick that, our 2 front teeth are good for something, kind of thing. Like just little things like that.
That's a great point. That's a great point. This movie,
It's endearing.
it delved deeper into the relationship. There were those moments where there was a connection there. So where I thought on the surface this would be just on par with these Disney money grab straight to video sequels that they make. It was surprisingly better than I expected. So, yeah.
Which the sequel to this movie is actually pretty good. Also, it's
Is it really?
they both go to college. Him and Goofy end up going to college together, which is hilarious.
And Roxanne is not in the picture. She's not even mentioned.
No,
What?
So they probably had a bad blow up or something, and he went off on his own.
Well, Roxanne was a little selfish.
Little high
Because
maintenance.
when Max told her, I'm sorry, I have to break our date. I gotta go on this vacation with my dad. So instead of saying, "Oh, I understand, that's a tough break," she was mad. So you like your dad more than you like me, something like that. And then it wasn't until there was something in it for her. Oh, I'm gonna get to see you on the power line. So Roxanne's no angel.
I think she liked Powerline more than she did Max. She just liked the idea of Max being Powerline or going to the Powerline concert than she did Max.
That's right.
But I think another side of this story too, it was also Max and him trying to fit into high school and the things that kids
Max and him.
Max has to overcome when he's in high school, trying to fit in, trying to be cool, and really understanding his family, not being embarrassed of your family and coming to terms with a lot of things as you grow up. So it was two sides, one from Goofy's point of view and one from Max's. And so I thought they did a really good job with that story.
I agree. And, and again, Roxanne found that Goofy laugh endearing. Like, she liked it. Which, would go to show most people have these insecurities about something, whether it's their family or the way they look or whatever. But everybody's got those same things, it seems. Like, nobody's perfect. Yep. Everybody has insecurity. These people you think are perfect, there are things about themselves they don't like, or their situation or whatever. You just don't know. So, they don't have it, but they find what you think is bad. They like it. So there's that too.
Yeah, I think both of these movies had really good life lessons and morals and values in one way or another in them that you can get from it. Although I still say, don't mess with shotguns, children. This is what you should not do with a shotgun. So
Amos Slade is ridiculous. Anyway,
but
guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing another one of these with me.
It took 2 weeks. We had to wait 2 weeks, but we did it.
3.
Oh, 3.
3
okay.
weeks. Yeah. Which gave me more time to think about the movie.
What's the next one?
Oh, good question. Let me go to my list.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that.
All right. So I'll pick one and you pick one if it's all right.
Sure.
Okay, there we go.
I have an idea, but I'm going to go with his lead first.
Of these, I think I'm most interested in Oliver and Company.
Oh. Okay, well that throws off, but that's fine. Okay,
is that what you're going to say?
No, but if you're going to go with Oliver and Company, then I'll stick with that, because I thought if you were going to say like Muppet Treasure Island, then I would have said Treasure Planet to go with a treasure theme. But you're doing Oliver and Company, so I would probably say The Great Mouse Detective, which is what I was looking at also. Is that what you were going to say? Yeah. I haven't seen Oliver and Company, so you and I are in the same boat. Have you seen it? Oh, wow. I remember it came out in the theater, and they had like toys for it in McDonald's Happy Meals, but I never saw that movie. So, but The Great Mouse Detective, that's a good one. I think you'll like it.
Okay. These will be the next two. We will not be talking about these a week from today, however, which is July 4th.
Yeah.
We will be doing... Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
No.
I was just thinking we're doing the 5 Foolish Mortals. Yeah.
That's correct. We are going to have a July 4th celebration. It'll be a bit earlier than normal, right? Earlier in the day.
8 o'clock for us in the morning, I
thought.
Oh, my goodness.
It's on Ben's channel. So, Ben, if you're still here, I hope you drink lots of coffee because it's 8 o'clock in the morning for us.
So a week from today at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, we're going to have a 4th of July celebration with the 5 Foolish Mortals. So,
yep.
Always fun.
Yeah. And we are, if I can say this, our Wednesday show is going to be like a Disney / 4th of July theme type thing because it's the Wednesday before 4th of July. So
very cool.
I'll already be up and ready. Okay, good.
Awesome. Fantastic. This was a nice long show, but I liked how in depth we got with these movies. Again, thank you so much for joining me with this and discussing it. So next it'll be Oliver and Company and The Great Mouse Detective. And I'll be ready to make fun of those movies too. So one more Goofy and one more Wilhelm Scream for good measure. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. If you're watching the replay, thank you so much for doing that. You guys want to finish off how you sign off?
Sure. I'm Derek.
I'm Gregory.
But if you forget our names, it's okay because I'm Little Explorer.
I'm Big Explorer.
And as Walt Disney once said, we are just getting started.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. And I never always say anything. Ending broadcast. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See you
Have a
next
good
time.
weekend.